Welcome back, gang. It's Deltia from Deltiasgaming.com. And the First Descendant. I was probably the biggest noob in the game, and I've made literally every mistake possible. So I want to share what I did as a noob to prevent you from making the same idiotic mistakes as me. Timestamps are below if you wish to skip ahead. You got something out of this video? Like and subscribe, and let's get to it. So first mistake up that I made constantly was picking the right reactor. So I'm just going to grab a different reactor here. Now, when you look at Reactor, there's kind of a lot of information here. You have skill power, sub-attack power, optimized condition, miss skill power boost ratio, and then actually 2 bonuses down at the bottom. So it's a lot of balancing and a lot to know about your individual class, and individual classes and characters get even more complicated. The first thing you need to know when you're actually equipping these reactors is what descendant attribute do you have? If we go to Ajax here, I look at one skill and it says non-attribute. All of his skills are non-attribute. So it's not chill, it's not fire, it's not that. Now you have 2 that are dimension, which are the bubble, the barrier, and then 2 damage, which are tech. This is what's going to determine the optimal reactor for you to use. Because if you go back to the inventory here, you look at it, non-attribute, perfect for us because that's everything. And then tech, that's really good for the 2 damage abilities. Now, if you look at my UI, it says C and G. The 2 icons light up for which 2 skills are activated the best. So you can see the T and the Z, the far right abilities are not lit up. This is just a visual indicator telling you what's getting the most power. Okay, now when you're beginning the game, what's going to happen is you're going to get reactors at a bunch of different levels. And I saved some lobby level ones just to kind of show you and demonstrate here. So while you're leveling every 4 or 5 levels, you probably just want to equip a better reactor. So let's say we have this one at level 22, right? And at level 51, it doesn't really matter what's matched that much. You can see electric skill power boost ratio, tingling phase reactor. This is for something that Bunny would use. I do have a shotgun equipped, but look at the big pluses that go up. So leveling is not so much important. You kind of want to look and match when you can, but not critical for your build. When you get to end game, optimizing your reactor is very, very important. You want to save a couple multiple reactors if your descendant uses different type of skills. You can see it for every single descendant when you go into the skills menu. So if we grab Bunny here, you can see that she's going to use electric fusion and electric singular. So if you're using maximum power a lot, you're using thrill bomb a lot, you want fusion. Singular for the lightning emission, which is the big AoE, and the speed charge attack. Same thing here, toxic, so on. Reactors come in 4 different forms. So you're going to have 4 toxic, you're going to have 4 electric, chill, so on. I have all these on my website, Deltiasgaming.com. Yes, that's the first plug. But I want you to know that this is really important for optimizing your skills, power, and potential. And you're trying to match the skills that you use along with fire, chill, electric, toxic, and non-attribute. Look at the UI, see what it buffs up. While you're leveling, just equip something that gets more powerful at about every 5 or 6 levels. So next up is number 2, and don't wait till max level to save your gun. So you can see sniper rifle, weapon class equipped. Like a noob, I basically dismantled all my guns because I'm like, I'm just gonna take the highest one and slot it and use it, right? That makes sense. Not so much. You need a wide variety of guns, especially when you reach endgame and you're doing the Void Intercept boss battle. The reason why is, the ammunition is very important, the range, and then meeting that reactor condition. A lot of the times when you're leveling or even at endgame, there's going to be probably 1 out of your 3 weapons that you're not really going to use that frequently. You might use a sniper rifle for high impact rounds, you might use the machine gun for a boss battle, but that second weapon, probably not going to get a lot of use. And if you have a mid-max reactor, you can match that quickly by just swapping a gun. So what I'd recommend doing, which is the opposite of what I did, is to save each and every one of these guns at least 1 copy. Because we know how these games work. They nerf and buff weapons all the time. And while you're leveling, you can save these, so that way when something gets nerfed, something gets buffed, you can quickly grab these out of your storage, update the level so they're at 100 and have the new meta gun. This game has a really good system for kind of finding every single gun and weapon list, So this access information, if you ever want to know and find things, is usually pretty good. It doesn't have the actual guns that are non-ultimate, so you're going to have to come here to your inventory and go to weapon list. Now this will show kind of what you have and all of the different types and rarities. So you can go by type, you can go by rarity, and then you can kind of start tracking these specific guns you want to collect. Rare or ultimate is probably the best. You don't want to save these, but start stashing these away. You never know when they're going to be meta and they're going to change, buff, and nerf them. Also, it will help you to match your reactor, and so you're not scrambling around to grind some crap gun that you don't have, that you deleted like me, and your reactor is not mid-maxed or optimized. Speaking of guns that you should collect, number one is the Tamer. This is a rare machine gun and it is just a boss melter. It's really helped me get past some of the tough parts in the main story, being able to beat those bosses easily and not being a complete noob missile and running around with non-mid-max guns that I have no idea what to use and what to do. So the Tamer, you can find after you defeat, I think, the Dead Bride. You're going to need to reach Agna Desert, and you come up here. I have a written guide on this as well on the website, but it's called Abandoned Reconstruction Site. So if you go here and scroll down, you hold Alt and mouse wheel down, you'll see Tamer. General rounds, acquisition 50%. So I got basically 3 of them in 10 minutes coming here. Now, even if you're low level and you're not at level 100, you can put this to normal and it makes it so much easier. I think the monster level's, 47. So roughly less than halfway through the main campaign, you can start collecting this guy and use it throughout the entirety of the game, especially for those boss rounds, because that's what holds you back from completing the campaign and making progression, is getting this Tamer will really help you out. It's also general rounds as well, so it's easy to hold ammunition. So don't wait until endgame to get this meta weapon. I'm sure 2 weeks from now when people are watching, leaving nasty comments, they'll nerf it, but right now it's hot. I gotta admit, I'm a complete noob when it came to bosses, all right? So I hate to admit this, but I'm the idiot running around with Bunny dying every 30 seconds. Yeah, you know, you probably saw me in one of these rounds. What you need to do is swap your loadouts and your equipment based on the content you're playing. So first thing you're gonna wanna do is, what am I playing and what's my goal and objective? Void intercept battles are completely single target, mostly mid to long range. So when you're running around with Thunder Cage and Bunny going up close and trying to AoE everything, that ain't gonna work against these Colossus and they're gonna nuke you. I'm the idiot that was dead every single 3 seconds. The best thing to do is have a machine gun like Tamer. Another reason this is really, really good is the range, the drop off is so long. So if we come into the Tamer, you can see the effective range drop-off starts at 35 meters. So that's pretty good to be able to do optimal damage at mid-range instead of having to get really, really close to the boss. This number is critical for your weapons. Otherwise, you're gonna have that Thunder Cage up close and personal and get nuked like me, constantly deady spaghetti. Do not do it. So you wanna have a machine gun with general rounds. You either want to have a weapon with special rounds or with impact rounds, and then a high impact, either grenade launcher for ad clear is pretty good, or a sniper rifle in general is very good for boss clear. Then when you go do content where you're just about grinding and trying to complete everything as fast as possible, swap in that Thunder Cage, swap in that grenade launcher, so that way you can clear ads quickly, but set up something specifically for bosses. So speaking of boss setup, another thing you need to do is optimize your mods for these specific setups. So you can have setting 1. I just have a generalized one because I basically just use this weapon for bosses. And bosses are about weak points. So the mods that are going to be very, very helpful for you is typically weak point damage, crit hit rate, and crit hit damage. Those are going to be really good to lean into. All right, moving on to another thing, which is queuing up crafting. The reason this is important is you're going to need this at endgame or while leveling. So you might as well queue up some important crafting if you have the materials. Now, it obviously shows we want to do this one. This is used to level up ultimate firearms. So if you get that Thunder Cage and it's level 20, you can consume a level 30 and upgrade it. You're also going to need a bunch of these as you acquire more of them. So even having 10 in your possession would be useful, because as you get more ultimate ones, you can just consume some random gun that you don't use and get that in case you need to swap in that weapon. Now for non-ultimate ones, it's Phase Exchanger. So for the Tamer and other ones, a little bit lower cost, you can do 4 of them. So we're going to do that as well. So that way we can have all of them in our vault or our bank at 100, just in case the meta changes. Adjustment control access. These are critical, okay? So research requests. You want a gazillion of these. These are for your reroll traits. So when you reach endgame, you're going to play a little mini game that says dice rolls and make you mad and triggered when you don't get what you want. So if you go to weapon readjustment, now I got almost a god roll, if you want to call that, for where's the dang weapon? Tamer. So you can see I have firearm critical hit, firearm critical hit damage, amazing. Weak point damage, amazing. You'd obviously want these all legendary in gold, right? The one you probably wouldn't want necessarily is this one, though Colossus and boss killing is pretty good. So let's say I wanted to lock these in. Okay, 2, 3. Oh boy. If I want to re-roll on this, it costs 20 to get that one trait a little bit more mid-max. This will be your end game grind, these adjustment control axes. So constantly spam these even while you're leveling. So that way when you reach end game, you get the sweaty meta weapons. You can sit there and spam it and pray to RNGesus that you actually get the right roll. Ion Accelerator is another one. You're not going to need a gazillion of these, but these are helpful to mid-max reactors. So if you hit a research request on those, I usually queue 4 of those up. And that's what's going to increase your reactor strength. You're only going to need about 10, 12, maybe 15 reactors when you play with a bunch of characters anyways, but getting those maxed out will be helpful. Now, what I do is I come down here, and usually if there's a legendary weapon or you have a Descendant that you're ready to craft, it'll kind of pop up at the very top left. It wants you to get your attention. It wants you to start crafting it. Another thing you can do is kind of scroll down here and then see what you're missing. So Viesa here, I'm missing just a couple pieces, and I could craft her if I didn't own her already. Same with Ajax here and so on. So what I like to do is come down here to like the legendary weapons. And you can see I already have blueprints for the Last Dagger. I have blueprints for Smithereen. So what I would do is like look at acquisition information and be like, all right, what am I missing here besides the blueprint? Last Dagger nanotube. So what do I need to do? Echo Swamp normal. Okay, so I could run those and kind of look at the acquisition and farm those quickly. And bang, this is what would give me the weapon if I was really hurting for this ultimate weapon. So you might be missing one piece to get that really sweaty, cool weapon. Just scroll down here and look while you're queuing up the research. It will help. Okay, another simple thing to do that will save you time and energy is using presets. So if you go in your inventory, there's called the presets. This is really helpful if you play a bunch of different characters. I think you get 4 for free. So you can see these are kind of the ones that I use frequently. And why this is helpful is when you swap from Bunny to, Enzo or Freyner or whatever, it's not going to swap reactors. It's not going to swap external components. It's just going to keep on whatever you have. And so if you use Ajax for like boss killing and you use Bunny just for basically running around blasting stuff and trying not to die while you're clearing content, swapping in is going to change all this stuff for you. And 4 for free. You can also use this to have one main character that you swap very specific builds, like a very specific boss encounter, a very specific AoE ad clear, and so on, and use a bunch of them. But I'd highly recommend you do it for multiple Descendants, because you're going to be using multiple Descendants whether you like it or not due to the mastery rank, which I will touch on next. And you don't want to swap and have the wrong external components and reactor on and not be optimal, because you've been like me, probably running around with the wrong gear on, the wrong weapons when you swap Descendants, hitting like a wet noodle. So use those presets in there, and then also use the presets inside of your actual weapons and Descendant. Remember, you have different settings for this. So this can be very helpful when you're trying to mid-max very specific situations. Same thing here with Descendant modules. You can have a survivability loadout, you can have a specific boss encounter, you can have AoE ad clear. So mastery rank is up next. And basically at level, I think 11 is when I stopped gaining mastery. I'm like, what's going on? And because I basically played one character all the way through campaign, mainly Bunny. I think about 10 or 11, you kind of stop here. Why that is you need to swap different characters. So press the button, mastery rank, XP earned by completing missions, rising weapon proficiency, or leveling up your Descendants. The fastest way to grind this up is leveling up your Descendants. So if you go to Descendants here, you can see I've leveled up some pretty good. it seems like beyond level 30, you get a ton of mastery XP. So if you really want to grind out that mastery XP, which is a passive way to make you very, very powerful, because you look, Descendant mod capacity, you get more. That's why it's so important, the mod capacity. Every little bit of mod capacity will squeeze out just a little bit more power. It also helps just get inventory and equipment, storage slots. That's nice. But the mod capacity is everything. Now, I did this in my previous video, but there's 2 different grind spots that you can take. Let me show you. So if you come over here in Albion, you're going to go to the Special Operations Terminal. 2 different grind spots. Yes, I have a written guide on my website. Check the website. I know. But the easiest one to do here is defend Albion Resource. There's 2 points where enemies spawn, and it's complete wave kills. You go till about wave 10 and reset it, and it's just incredible XP. Maybe 2 hours max to completely hit max level with these guys. Usually about level 30 or so, I swap to the Swamp. The Swamp is more or less doing loops, but a lot more density in ads. They're a little bit higher level, so you get a little bit more XP. But if you do these 2 in conjunction, hour and a half, maybe, you can queue up with randoms too, or bring a buddy and park on the specific spawns and just nuke them with like Blair or Viesa or Freyna, or even just this guy Ajax and using Thunder Cage. Super easy. So that's how you can grind out those mastery ranks and even get your character even a bit more optimized. So don't get hung up when your mastery rank isn't moving. You need to focus on progressively leveling it when you're doing chores in the game. All right, now something super embarrassing, I have to admit. I'm a complete noob when it comes to mods. And I looked at this, and I gotta be honest with you. I'm like, mod slots. Well, shouldn't you fill every single one? I thought that the best way to do mods, I know, don't laugh at me or trash me in the comments, please, was like, I needed to fill up all of these, right? Because all of them means you more powerful, right? No, that doesn't mean that. So if you go to settings, remember that mods can be increased in effectiveness. So you see the different bars that I have here. So shock punches at 10, increased defense, and so on. And I have my max module capacity of 60, since I haven't maxed out this guy yet at 80 yet. So what I'm saying to you is, sometimes you only need 5 or 6 mods, and then to really increase their efficiency and effectiveness to have a proper build. Don't be like me and go, oh, I need to fill out every single mod slot. That's not the key to power. The key to power is mid-maxing the mods that you need the most. And sometimes these blue standard ones are very, very good. And you only need a couple of rares or purples and maybe 1 gold one specifically to mid-max your build. I have builds on the website. I'm in the process of updating all the mods after I've learned this. So also you have a skill module here. This is for Transcendent mods. Most players don't necessarily use that, but it's very helpful. And if you don't know this sub module, there's a bunch of different varieties here that basically increase your max module capacity. I'm going to give you another tip a little bit later on which one you should optimize and why, but these are the priority to upgrade because it will increase your module capacity. So 5, 6 mods max is sometimes all you need to have a sweaty, awesome build, and just focus on optimizing those and increasing those versus filling in every spot like I thought we had to do to be powerful. Don't laugh. All right, another new missile thing that I did was external components. I had no idea how to get stronger defense, and I'm still not like, you know, God's gift to the game or anything like that, but I'm trying to share with things that I've learned to prevent you from sucking as bad as me. So when you look at external components, I'm not going to look at that one just yet. There's essentially 3 different things that you have listed. So defense is the top stat. When I was leveling and kind of learning the game, I just looked at this one. I did not look at the 2 below. I know that's embarrassing. But you see MP recovered in combat. Okay, that's a decent modifier. Character XP gain modifier. That's not so good at end game, right? You don't really need that necessarily when you're doing a boss battle. Now, if we take a look at this one, don't look at the set bonus, but look at the stats. 4,600 defense versus this guy. Yeah, that's pretty good. But you also look at the 2 sub ones here. Max shields of 264 and then toxin resistance of 1993. This is an incredible mod because it provides 3 layers of support. Now, sometimes you'll get double defense, double shields, double HP, and then having a elemental resistance isn't a bad drop and roll as well. These external components are basically just armor. I don't know why they call them external components, but it's armor. Even when you're leveling, this will make a dramatic difference in how survivable you are, is not necessarily looking at the level, but looking at what the drops are. Another really helpful thing that I found, one that you might want to look for trait-wise, is shield recovery in combat. So when I was playing Bunny, I had pretty big shields, but as soon as they would go down, it felt like it would be half an hour before my shields would come back up to full. So shield recovery in combat, especially when you're leveling or you're stacking a bunch of shields, is really, really important, because without it, you're just going to be waiting around forever for them shields to recharge. All right, next I want to show you like a little boss fight here and explain something very important. So you need to spam the tab key. The tab key on PC is called something I can't pronounce. I can't read very well. ECIVE scan. Okay, whatever. It's a tab scan, and it basically shoots out and kind of gives you visual indicators of weak points on boss fights. That's really helpful, right? Spam this sucker. Another reason it's helpful is it kind of tells you the buffs and or debuffs on the individual mobs and or bosses. So it discovers weak points, but moreover, it kind of gives you symbols above the enemy's head. So you can kind of know where the spawns are. If you don't know where the spawns are, you're looking at the radar in your top left, and you're kind of seeing, oh, they're going to be over here, right? You hit that tab key, and it clearly indicates with those little tooltips over their head where they are. So you can like chuck grenades out there or something else and kind of prep the damage. And also you kind of know if they have a buff or debuff on them. So simple tip here, spam that sucker. 10, 15 seconds. It doesn't matter. You can still shoot and use this ability. So why not use it and have way more situational awareness? All right, next up is mods. And I talked about this a little bit earlier, but so I leveled up Shock Punch here and I got 10. So what that does is it gives you max module capacity of increase 10. Awesome, right? Not so much. I should have done something else, which I haven't got around to do. I've kind of farmed it a couple times, but haven't got this yet. So don't be me and screw this up and dump a ton of resources into Shock Punch. It's not bad, but it's not optimal. So come over here and go to Infiltration Operations. If you had the time, I would farm this one here. Long Distance Maneuvering. So this is an ultimate version of the same sort of thing. So increases max module capacity, but instead of giving you some random bonus you don't want, it modifies the grappling hook range to 25 meters. But the base charge time changes to 6 seconds, and the charge time increases by 20%. So it's nice because you have 25 meters of grappling distance. So if you've seen people use this grappling, you're like, how are they getting that far out there? This is how you do it. And you can farm this just the beginning one. You don't even have to do hard mode. Try to get that right away, dump a ton of points into it, and you'll use that for every single build that you have. Another mistake I made is you see how there's these slots. So I have no idea what these slots did. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm like, cool, graphics, nice, awesome. So let's say we have this little 3-bar one. It's called Malachite. Okay, what does this symbol actually do for us? If I slot Malachite over here at 6, it costs 6 to slot it in this non-3-bar thing. If I go over here, oh boy, it decreases it to 3. That's what these symbols mean. That's why it's really, really important to have the mods in this specific slot to decrease your module capacity. Because with 3 extra mod capacity, I can increase a really sweaty mod and make it even better. This is how you squeeze and min-max your build, both in weapons and Descendant mods, is to get these slots and optimize them. That way you can have a ton of mod capacity. Speaking of matching the sockets correctly, there is an item that allows you to, here we go, reset your character. So this crystal you make, I think you have to get mastery rank 12 or 13. I should know this. But once you get this, you get a quest that introduces you this and you can craft it. So it resets your level. This can reset your weapon or it can reset your Descendant. You're like, well, that's stupid. Why would I want to do that? Because what it allows you to do is place another one of these slots on your bar. So you can lower that module capacity. So if you use a really expensive one like this guy, it's another 3-bar one. But if we go to, let's say, I can't pronounce the word because imagine that, increased HP. I got this thing, it costs 15, right? you could put a C or whatever that word is right here. Yeah, you'd have to reset Ajax, but if you got an hour or two, reset him before you do any boss battles. Come back here, max him out to level 40, and now you got even more mod capacity. It sounds simple and stupid and easy, but even 3, 4 mod capacity, plus your master ranks, plus increasing his mod capacity even further, means he can just get more and more powerful. This is how you get massive stats. Because I'm seeing people running around with a bazillion defense, a gazillion HP, and I'm like, how do they do it? This is how they do it. Don't be a noob like me. Continue to progress Descendants and don't use the same one. Continue to reset the weapons. Continue to reset the Descendants so you can actually optimize that module capacity and get really strong. Okay, last thing I want to touch on is having a Descendant for bosses and having a Descendant for just content clearing grinding. The two obvious choices for me are Bunny and Ajax. Bunny is S+ tier for just completing missions and grinding out trash mobs and quests, right? And running through dungeons. Bunny is not so S tier when it comes to bosses. Why? Well, because none of her abilities really matter for bosses. The only thing she can do halfway decent is clear ads when they come out during boss fights. A lot of times people just forego and don't even mess with the ads. So what I'd recommend is using Bunny to level up, and then using someone like Ajax until you're familiar with the game. Because Ajax has these 2 bubbles. These are absolutely god tier group utility and solo survivability. You can see with this bubble here I got 15-second cooldown, huge massive range and radius, and it can absorb enormous amount of damage. So I went from dying every 5 seconds with Bunny to not dying at all and being able to resurrect a lot of teammates with Ajax. Now, super sweaty players, they're going to play Glay. She's the boss melter, right? So her ability is all about just increasing weapon damage. And bosses aren't about spamming abilities because you really can't do it on top of them unless you're playing defensive. She is a really good character for just absolutely melting bosses. Along with Viesa, Freyna, these 2 are really good. Mune's actually pretty good for defensives, but he's pretty squishy. And any character that has damage over time or something they can do at range, like poison, dots, they can use their abilities. So Freyna has this, her last ability is Venom Baptism. It's not that good because you don't really want to swap into an ad-killing ultimate weapon. You don't need that. You need a Tamer or some other weapon anyways. Now, if you look at Lepic, his ultimate Overkill is amazing because it shoots this huge damage over time, long cooldown, tons and tons of damage. So you can fire off those missiles, go back to your weapon and do a lot of damage. So what I'm trying to tell you is pick something to clear a bunch of trash mobs, level up quickly, get to end game, complete that campaign, aka Bunny, and then swap to something noob friendly. So me, complete noob, dying every 30 seconds. There's no one better than Ajax to get you through those bosses so you can keep consuming the content, completing the campaigns, and getting those hard mode Void Interceptor battles where you can get the really sweaty gear. I hope this helped you. If it did, leave a comment below. I got 1,000 bazillion builds on my website. Check the website, and I hope you enjoyed this video.